All right, hello. Welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom. George is here, but he is on the phone, so he'll be back on the stream in a minute. Welcome, everybody. Hello, Barry, Steve, JD, QWERTY. Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? This was not the best day for Bitcoin or the best week. However, we're going to find the silver lining. Hello, Gorilla. George seems to always be busy with everything besides the stream. He has been... I don't know what he's doing right now.
Tom, I'm not up on the screen.
Oh. Hold on. I got to press the button. There's George. He's here. He's just on a phone call. So hopefully you guys should see him now. I didn't have the right button pressed. Hey, Chris. Hey, Ed. Shoreline. Martin. TP. Welcome. So you think this is just a pullback, or are we heading to retest the lows? That is Martin Burke. Well, that's definitely one of the things I want to talk about today. Are you guys Canadian, says Matthew? No, Matthew, but we did grow up very close to the Canadian border. Very close to Niagara
What
Falls.
up, A? Hey, that's an A. Remember A? What up, A? Dude, I'm Canadian.
Yeah, you're not Canadian.
Sometimes I don't want to be an American.
Yeah, you don't get to pick and choose. Yeah, we were just a stone's throw away, but on the East Coast. QWERTY saying, I'm thinking it's a pullback to the 50-day simple moving average.
Okay, sorry. What
Let's
is it
bring
called?
that up.
It's a double D. What was it? The statements I heard today. It's a double D. It's a cup.
Cup and handle.
Cup and handle. Yeah, that was a good one. Cup and handle. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully good. And if you're not doing good,
I don't know if everybody's
maybe we
doing
can make you happy. What happened today in the market, Tom?
Well, I thought you said you were going to make people happy.
Why, is it bad?
That's not getting the job done. Let's see. So, well, you know, there was green. It was really just the NASDAQ that was down. But I will tell you, most of the stuff we follow on this channel goes more in line with the NASDAQ and the Russell 2000. The Dow, I don't even look at anymore. The S&P 500 was up 0.22, so it ended up a little bit green. It was red most of the day. Everything was mostly red. The NASDAQ never did recover. Steve said, I sold all my hut too. Hello from Germany. Hello, RT. Welcome, Germany. Leia, let us know where you guys are from.
Speaking to Deutsch.
You look very colorful today, George.
I just want to make sure that everybody's included.
I think you seem to be in high def. You got all the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah, I mean, I want everybody to be included. This is an all-inclusive stream.
That's right. We're here for the people.
We're here for the people. So, Tom, I have a few questions. Let's get right into it. What in the world's going on with my CleanSpark? Just so you know, everybody, I got out at 365. Sorry, I think I told. Wait. Oh,
what?
There's some people that aren't members on the channel right now. So I told everybody on the Tuesday that I felt that we were going to be in a little bit of rocky road here for a few days. So I got out of CleanSpark before earnings.
That is true. George got out just in time. That was on the members only live stream. So for those of you who don't know, you can support the channel by becoming a member by hitting the join button, which is right next to the subscribe button on the YouTube page.
You know how much money let's say, this is not financial advice, but this is George advice. So I'm talking to me. Lean in a little if you want to hear it.
This is advice to
365, and I saw it was $3. So 65 times 20,000, or is it 40,000? I think it was 20,000. 20,000. How much is that?
It's a bunch.
It's a bunch.
13,000.
There you go, baby. Bada boom, bada bang. I sold everything on Monday. Nice, Martin.
That
I
was
mean,
a
I
good
think
move.
I'm worried about March, Tom.
Barry's asking no merge love for Hut. So we got enough people on yet. I'll make my preliminary announcement. I don't know if I'm going to get it up onto
Frank.
Hey,
Welcome
Frank,
on board,
welcome. Much
Frank. Tom,
appreciated.
what's your heaviest position?
Our newest, latest, greatest
Bitfarms?
member.
Bitfarms or CleanSpark?
Ooh. Straight up in stock now, because I do tend to trade a lot of Bitfarms options because they have been very lucrative for me. They're very low premium, and I've caught some good runs on that. So, and I don't trade CleanSpark options. So I did buy into CleanSpark again this week on the dip. So that may now be my largest position.
Yeah, but you're not a, like, what do you call me, a swing trader?
Yeah, I'm not really a swing trader, so I just keep adding to my positions, and I have 4 of them that are much larger than all the rest, and it fluctuates depending on the week. But right now, I just feel like I mean, my 2 biggest are definitely CleanSpark and Bitfarms. Riot is very close behind. I don't have a position in Marathon, but I'm getting extremely tempted.
You like Marathon now, huh?
I'm looking at this $691 million market cap. I mean, it's down to $5.92. I'm being very patient. I'm trying to buy in very slowly and methodically. If not, I would have jumped into Marathon big time today.
Really?
And JD said I started DCAing into Marathon in the mid 5s. Yeah, and I mean we're in the high 5s, so yeah, that's why I'm tempted.
Well, it's funny because the one thing I'm going to say about Bitcoin, and I haven't said in a long time, remember, everybody, I still believe Bitcoin's going to the moon. I just think that this year is going to be a rocky road. But here's what I meant to say. It's the truth meter. And that's the reason why people hate Bitcoin. What was that? The factor of, it's like quantum physics and understanding how smart it is and how you cannot manipulate it. That is, you can't believe that. Does anybody believe that only one person invented this? I have a rough time believing that, by the way.
I think we're never going to know the answer to that. It was either one person or a group of people under one pseudonym. Somebody's asking, is that the Frank Holmes from Hive? I'm guessing that is not the Frank Holmes, but we welcome all Frank Holmes.
Oh my goodness, of course it is, guys. Stop it. Hey Frank, thanks for joining. Good to see you. Sorry I beat you in golf the other day. It was okay. But anyways, are you able to make a living out of your YouTube earnings? Tom, say this.
Am I able to make... This channel costs money. I don't make money. No.
I run my own company, and Tom hangs out with me.
That's right.
Uh-oh.
Did somebody ask that on the stream?
Yes.
Yeah, no. Not at all. It would be nice to get this thing to break even so that we could keep it running, because it basically costs money right now. So
I can tell you right now that crypto's going to get hit hard. I don't know how bad Bitcoin's going to get hit, but crypto's getting hit hard. I'm just telling you. I'm sorry.
Well,
I've been saying this.
there's a
Been saying
bunch
this
of
for-
new FUD out there.
New FUD?
New FUD. I did a video yesterday and today on some
It's going to be interesting. I'm telling you right now, the next few months is going to be interesting. Remember, I've always said at $3.5 trillion, when crypto was at 3.5 trillion, I said to Tom, and I said it on the stream, we need to go find it, Tom. I said, we're going to less than $1 trillion. Everybody, you guys are all like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot.
That's kind of like the guy earlier on this stream whose message got blocked.
Oh, really?
It automatically just blocks certain messages if it thinks they're rude. I guess that's just the YouTube algorithm.
Oh, okay. So, but I'm still saying it's going to 500 billion, and I haven't changed.
500. You're going to cut in half again, you think?
Cut in half one more time. And I mean, I think that's how. I don't think it'll be there long term. I think it'll be there to shake a lot of people out. And I mean, let's be honest, the world's kind of crazy right this minute. And it's crazy. And so, with that being said, eventually all this craziness is going to send Bitcoin to the moon. Something's going to happen that's going to plummet it, and then eventually it's just going to turn around and go nuts.
So, you're long-term bullish, short-term you think we're going to get whammied. Is your opinion?
Yeah. And does it really matter if you don't care? Does it really
commercial
matter?
timeout. Everybody, please smash the like button.
Did you hear that? If you don't care, does it really matter? If you don't care,
if you don't care, nothing really matters.
That's how I stay happy, guys.
If everybody could smash the like button, it helps the live stream a lot. I appreciate it. We get more people. We've been getting 100 likes lately on the live stream. So that's
really? Nice.
That's my new goal, but we're at 22 right now. So hello, Ray. Hello, Ed.
Sorry, I got to take this. Sorry.
All right, George got to check out for a minute and take a phone call. He's in and out. Okay. Somebody's asked me, what Bitfarm contracts do you buy? Bid-ask spread seems super wide. Right now, some of the bid-asks are nuts, and I'm just holding on. I have May $1.50, and I feel like those are not financial advice. I own them. I bought a bunch of them I've averaged into them. I think I'm now averaged in at 9 cents. At one point, they were much higher than that. They pulled way back, but I held on and I added more. I think those are going to be way in the money by May, in my opinion. So to me, those are good ones. I do some short term. The ones that expire next Friday got down to bid ask of 1 penny and 2 pennies. So I bought some of those just for fun also. But, that's not really not going to make a lot of money on that strategy. Team Bitcoin, you guys that are buying and selling on a weekly basis, have fun paying the taxes. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing with options. You make your money, but it's taxable event, which is why, I mean, the vast majority, I'm a buy and hold person by and large. I haven't sold, let's put it this way, I haven't sold a share of Bitfarms or Cleanspark in 2 years.
Did you see what Seth just said? You should have a Seth button.
No, Seth. Seth just shared a video about Binance. Hello, Seth. Welcome to the stream. Just shared a video about Binance and how are subverting the U.S. laws and just got caught. That is why they're being forced to suspend U.S. transactions. All right.
Well, it's even worse than that, by the way. Well, I mean, they got caught, but it's even worse than that, Tom. I'm not saying nothing. But I like living.
I got to do it. You did it.
I like living. I like living, guys. Only thing I can say is it's worse than what he just said.
Nothing's ever as good as it seems, and nothing's ever as bad as it seems. That's what somebody said. I'm just repeating it.
Who said that?
Somebody said it.
Someday somebody said it.
Somewhere. I heard that somewhere.
Hello, Netherlands.
Hello, Netherlands. Nice. All right. We should have a way to list.
I rode marathon to a 40x. Team Bitcoin. Way to go. That's awesome.
This is my... Yes. Very nicely done. Thank you, Team Bitcoin, for bringing that up, because that's why I spend so much time on the Bitcoin miners. And yeah, 2022 was a train wreck and a nightmare and all that. And I don't know when it's going to happen, but like Team Bitcoin just said, both Riot and Marathon, and really at that time in the United States, those were the only two trading on the NASDAQ. I guess technically Bit Digital was, but that was a very different story. Those things pulled 40x's in, a few months. It was months. So this is the kind of action you can get. And we've already seen some 500% and 600% moves just in January of 2023. So yeah, it's kind of turned around a little bit right now. We're having a little bit of a pullback. The question is this us on the way back down, or are we going to, find a line of support and try and get back to 25,000? That is the question.
One of the things I told Tom is I think it's going to be a little bit longer before we see any regulations. I mean, does anybody think in the United States that there's going to be an agreement between the two parties to get something passed?
Not a lot of legislation gets passed.
Yeah, I find that one. I mean, that one's going to be interesting. And there's other reasons why I say that, because let's just think who benefits from this crypto game. Uh-oh, Seth is calling you out on XRP too, Tommy.
Haha, it's almost done. It really is. It's happening this weekend. I got everything. I got XRP. I've mastered the basics.
So I have a
XRP.
question. Are you a fan of XRP now, or are you not a fan of XRP? How about that?
I have come a long way. About in the middle of this journey, I was at a place, and that's why I'm glad I didn't make the video. I was at a place where I thought, this seems like total nonsense. This is ridiculous. But I will tell you that is because there is just a lot of it's not even wrong information. It's just old and superseded. They've changed the name of the ledger that it runs on. Ripple has changed the name of their suite of products. So you get all this old information, and a lot of other things have changed since then. So it took me a long, long time. Martin said you promised XRP last weekend. I know. It's outrageous.
It's good.
That's the thing I've spent the most time on, and it's still the video that I don't have out yet. And everybody's going to be disappointed because really what I want to do in my first video, I want to just really explain the basics of XRP, because I will tell you, it is unlike any other cryptocurrency. And I did not understand what was going on. It took me a lot of research to get to. It's all simple when you see it. I don't know why there's not more. Everybody sticks to these talking points when they make their videos. So I looked on different websites and watched different videos, and all they did was like take the words from the white paper and just repeat them. But it's like those words are not helpful. You got to translate those words and tell people what they mean. So it took me a long time to get to the bottom of it, but I'm there. I feel good. I think people are going to be surprised. So yeah, I think I'm turning. I think there's a lot of potential with XRP. I will tell you that.
Well, I think what's funny about XRP is that people don't realize how, I hate to say, the Matrix. Have people heard this, that we're living in the Matrix? I don't know if anybody's heard this statement. I'm sure people have. I don't believe it's like that, so to speak, but I think there's what is up is down and what is down is up right now. I think everybody can agree with that. So you have to use abstract to understand XRP. If XRP loses, they're just leaving the country. And it doesn't mean it's not going to change their mission of what they're doing.
Yeah, the right now they're in a dispute with the United States. And really, XRP isn't even it. That's another complicated piece of the puzzle. It's not really XRP that's in a dispute with the United States. It's Ripple. So that'll all be in the video.
Right. I say XRP because you know why.
Well, yes. And I mean they're intertwined to a point where, you know, I think there's no pulling them apart, but they are not the same thing.
I think this would be a great question for you to take up and really explain it if you don't mind, Tom. The tourist just asked this question, and I'm staying up on the notes, so you don't need to look at them.
Oh, okay.
He has 320 Marathon shares at an average of $8.50. Should I buy? Should I sell, or should I hold? And then Scott said, tourists sell covered calls. What would be a good strategy?
Covered calls is a good strategy, especially if, and again, this is not financial advice. We're just talking about different strategies that you can take. But George, in your scenario, you think we're going to go down right now. So,
yes, I do.
If you believe
so that would be the first thing, right? That you would say to tourists.
Well, yeah.
What do you think Bitcoin's going to do? And this is what do you think it's going to do? Not what I think it's going to do.
Right. What do you think
Bitcoin is? Tom and I have different. Even just talking right now, we have different thoughts of what's going to happen with Bitcoin.
That's right. So you got to know what direction you think Bitcoin is going in the short term. If you want a short-term trade, like you're asking, what direction is Bitcoin going in? What in specific is going on with Marathon right now? So those are obviously big factors. But if you think that we're in the middle of a pullback, then covered calls, a lot of the people that used that strategy in 2022 were the winners. Just period, because you got all your covered calls. That's just money you made, because we pretty much went down. You know, you probably never had to cash in your shares, and you just made extra money. So a covered call is when you own the stock. Let's say you own. So if you own 300 shares of Marathon, you can sell 3 calls, because each call equals 100 shares. And then you get paid for that. Now, if it goes past that number, let's say you sell the $6 calls. If it goes past that, then you got to turn your shares over. But you still got paid to do so. But mostly in 2022, and you know, I don't usually sell calls that close to in the money. But in 2022, given the direction that it was going, you know, you could even sell practically in the money calls sometimes and still get paid and keep your shares. So I'm a buy and hold person. So for me, and Marathon's not one I'm in yet. So I'm waiting for an entry point. I was very tempted today. And, you know, if we do take another leg lower, I'll jump in there, because I do think the risk reward is flipping on Marathon, in my opinion. So.
And Ed, you should ride XRP to 40 cents. I guess I'm just going to sound Z. Was CPI affect BTC next week? This week?
CPI affects all things. CPI right now equals the Fed, and the Fed is driving this market almost single-handedly. So,
Fed now.
I think, I guess we'll see. It doesn't matter what I think. I imagine we're going to get a number that's not going to surprise anybody in our next CPI data. But if it does, if it's a surprise, if it's higher than expected, the market will not react well to that at all. And as a function of that, probably Bitcoin will, and all of cryptocurrency will take a short-term hit. And usually those are short-term hits, because then the next piece of news comes up, and we all know what the Fed's going to do anyway. But for some reason, everybody twice a month panics about what the Fed's going to do, or more. So
Oh, and Jeff said Tate. Yeah, that's that dude Tate. Who talks about the Matrix, by the way. Tourist says he's from India and he has a cash account only, so I can't sell covered calls.
Oh, all right. Well, then you got it. I mean, that is a decision. Are you a short-term investor? Are you a long-term investor? How do you feel about the company? I mean, that's why nobody can give financial advice. You got to know the answer to 100 questions that only you know the answer for yourself.
Right.
And, when you get through all those, then you can decide, is this a buying opportunity? Is this a selling opportunity?
The only thing I will say, tourists, is that the halving's going to be the beginning of next year. And I would imagine that Bitcoin has to go for a run if it wants to stay in business.
Right. So we've got the halving, we think, somewhere around April, plus or minus of April 2024.
Right.
And that's going to be a big deal. This halving's going to be a bigger deal than any other previous halving, and I'm going to tell you the reason for that, and it's this right here. This is the Bitcoin network hash rate. Today is 316. So the last time we had a halving, this was what? 30, 40, 50 maybe. Now it's at 300. So the difficulty level is at a point where we're not just going to slide through a halving and everything will be okay. This number is this is an intimidating number, and it's not, and we're consistently now getting up to that 300 plus. So, and we still got another year to go before we get to the halving, a year plus. So, if this is at 370 or 400, the pressure is going to be on Bitcoin beyond belief to move. And if it doesn't, then I think that bad things will happen. And how bad, I don't know. We had a big debate in the Discord as to, are some of the Bitcoin miners going to survive that? Are none of them? Are all of them? I think an awful lot of Bitcoin miners don't survive that. And the ones with the biggest money that are willing to continue to lose money for a long time are the only ones that are going to survive that.
Scott says, yes, the CPI affects sea levels. I'm underwater. PK, covered calls are collecting pennies in the steamroller. 22 was way too devastating to cover calls. Shares went down.
If you look at the premium on Marathon and Riot calls, for those of you who have not checked that out, so I would agree with you on most of the stocks in the stock market, but Marathon in particular, they were in the top 5 highest volatility premium calls in the entire stock market for the entire year last year. So you were getting money on those calls. If you're going to sell a covered call for 6 cents, then I absolutely agree with you. But if you can sell, if Marathon's at $8 and you can sell a covered call for $3, I mean, that's insane money.
Was it that high?
The premiums are astronomical, particularly on Marathon and Riot, but particularly on Marathon. I mean, it depends how far out you want to go, but you can't even imagine the premiums on these things. Which is why I do not buy on something like Marathon or Riot. I only sell calls. I don't buy calls. On something like Bitfarms, where the volatility and the premium is a lot lower in comparison, I buy calls if I think the market's going up, or I buy puts if it's going down.
I don't even understand calls. I get phone calls all the time, but I don't understand. I try to understand them, but it's so hard.
It's,
especially when you sell them.
The one thing about selling calls is it's confusing when you look at your account until the maturity date. So if you don't know exactly how they work, you can panic. in the middle. So, yeah, I know an awful lot of you are very experienced traders that work buying and selling calls. But if you're not, then, yeah, please be careful. Learn. Just take some time to learn and dabble. Crawl before you walk before you run.
Real quick, RT, what's your opinion on HUT? And I guess you should drop that bomb. And then develop after the split of 1.5. I used to be a fan of HUD, but I'm thinking about selling.
So a lot of people have sold their HUT. There is no doubt. The selling pressure since they made that announcement is wild. The video that I made on that, the comments were just split 50-50, and some of them were absolutely vicious. There are people that despise that deal. There's other people that, think it's a great deal. I'm in the camp. We did a poll on the channel, and, it was pretty close. Good deal, bad deal, and not enough information yet to make a decision. And that's where I'm at right now. We need more information. But in that vein, we will be having Sue on for an interview, Sue Ennis from HUT 8, on either Monday or Tuesday. So sometime early next week, we can ask Sue herself. Now,
Sue, is this good?
Is this good or is this bad? I'm guessing she thinks it's good. And obviously, right now, the shareholders have not voted on this yet. And so there's only so much she can say.
How long does it usually take to those deals to get to in front of the shareholders to vote on it?
It can depend, but the real critical path moment is the fact that the other company's shareholders aren't going to meet on this for like 3 months. So even if HUT met on this tomorrow and said yes, they still, shareholders for both companies need to agree to this, and, a few more things have to happen. But that's the big hurdle. So QWERTY said, I dumped my HUT. I think it's a horrible deal. You're not alone. A lot of people think this is a horrible deal. There's a particular question I want to ask Sue, and I don't know the answer to this deal. I'm still in the camp where I think we need more information, but I do think something's going on, and I think I'm pulling a George right now. I think I have a feeling I know what's going on, and we're going to have to wait and see.
Tell me you have a problem without telling me you have a problem. I'll go first.
Go.
I'm not saying it. Let it be. Everybody knows what it is. I think if they had HUD, they probably know. But my question is, how does that lawsuit end? I mean, that's a tipping by going and merging with somebody. It's kind of tipping their hand. I would have sold HUD if I had it.
Well, it's had a pretty vicious pullback since they made that announcement. So the question is now,
how much is it
priced
down?
in? Let's go. Let's go to the chart. So from its high, this looks like just about a week ago. So this was February 2nd. So it's down about 34%.
34, okay. Wow. Almost got split in half. So, and it's still on the way down.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a giant red candle, a small red candle. And a little bit, I mean, the market went that way today. Almost all the Bitcoin miners were red today with a few exceptions. So today was not a great day for Bitcoin or the Bitcoin miners.
Buy the news, sell the rumor.
Buy the rumor, sell the news.
Oh well, that's why you sell.
Or that's right.
So when do you think it looks good, Tom? Or is there no spot for you to say that yet until you talk to Sue?
I would love to hear more about this deal. There's a lot of questions that we don't have an answer to yet, and they're extremely meaningful. So trying to put this into its proper context with the limited information we've been giving, I think, is guessing. I can absolutely understand how certain people can read that and go, wow, this is ridiculous and awful, because to a certain extent, it reads that way. But I will also tell you, I think a lot of people are doing the math wrong because it's a very complicated transaction. And I know for sure a lot of the questions that I was asked, those people were doing the math wrong and they didn't really know what the deal was. So that's some of the reason people are so angry about it. They don't understand mathematically what's happening with the deal because they're merging with another company and doing effectively a reverse split. But really, when you merge with another company, you do some kind of split automatically. Or, the other way is you could dilute, if they have, let's say they have 200 million shares. If they didn't want to do a split, then they would have to issue new company 200 million shares and double their amount of shares outstanding to 400 million shares, because this is a merger of equals. So each company will have the same amount. Each company's shareholders will have the same amount of shares in total at the end of this deal. In order to do that, they're doing a 5-to-1 reverse stock split in effect in order to accomplish that goal.
I can't say the things I want to say about this deal too, by the way, because I would imagine that it's going to turn someone's going to put the kibosh on it, I would imagine. I was a betting man.
You think it's not going to happen?
I think that I look at Any, okay? I don't know if you guys remember Any and what were they before, and they had all this crazy news.
Oh, Sphere 3D, Any, yeah, they went through all their ridiculous magic machines.
But all their news sent the stock through the moon, and then it all came down,
Yes.
And so this is the exact opposite. So, I mean, the reason I say the kibosh, if it gets done, it's going to take a long time to get done, is what I'm saying. And I mean, what I call a long time, if Bitcoin trades 24 hours a day, okay, it's moving at the speed of light.
Yeah.
So to me, a month in the Bitcoin world is a long time.
That's true. Things move very fast.
Yeah, the Mountain Dew miner. So I'm thinking it's going to take at least a half a year before this thing to go through.
I would think that the best case scenario is like May or June of this year.
Yeah, I maybe, but
I'm saying that's probably the best case scenario. So, right. It could be September, who knows? Yeah. But sooner than that, we'll know whether or not all the shareholders voted yes, and if it's a go, or if there's, stumbling blocks along the way, and more details will come out on this.
Yeah, this is a great one. RT just said, somebody compared, you cut a hamburger in half, one is paying 20%, and HUT stakeholders or shareholders are paying 80%. What do you think about that?
I think that's doing the math wrong.
Oh,
that's absolutely doing the math wrong, and I don't blame people for doing the math wrong because it's extremely confusing the way that it's presented. But that's not what's happening. So I think a lot of people think that's what's happening, so they think HUT is getting screwed. But that is not what's happening.
Well, could you go down a little farther with it, or no, you don't want to do it now? I mean, why do you say that? I'm sorry, I'm calling Tom out, and I'm sure he's getting mad at me. But it is what it is.
I'm just going to talk to you in concept, and I mean, I could put up a whiteboard and do the math, but essentially, forget how many shares you're going to own before or after. The HUT shareholders. So let's say no one's allowed to buy or sell a share starting now. Everything's locked in stone. If you own your shares, you own your shares on both companies. The people that own HUT shares are going to get 50% ownership in the new company. Now, because there's way more HUT shares than there are shares of the other company, everybody's not getting a share for a share, right? Because it's a big difference if a company has 50 million shares or 200 million shares, and if you merge, you can't just give everybody one share, or in that case, HUT would be getting 75% of the new company. So you have to adjust the share price for each one to make it a 50-50 split. So they're not giving away 80% of the company. This is an exact 50-50 split. It is a merger of equals. Hut has more shares. So that's why. And there's some people that even listening to this, it's very confusing. It just is. So there's going to be some people that go,
so you're
that doesn't make any sense.
So what you're saying here, I'm going to explain it better. So you take your hamburger, you cut it in half. You take your hamburger and cut it in half. Half of the burger is going to the Hut 8 people, and the other half of the burger is going to U.S. Bitcoin.
That's exactly right. But
your half of the burger is twice as many people you got to feed with that half of the burger.
That's exactly right.
Okay, I gotcha.
That's exactly right.
So that's why they feel it's not fair. But Alex just brought up a very good point too, and that is we can get institutional buyers when they're in the U.S. and they can't currently get that.
Thank you, Alex. This is a very complicated deal, and I know on the surface a lot of people dismiss this as a bad deal, but there's potentially some huge upside, and Alex just mentioned one of them. That is a huge one, and I don't even think that's the biggest one. So I think it depends on what the answers to some of these questions are.
I agree with that one, Nathan. Nathan said, I don't understand what Tom is saying in the assumption that the value of the companies is the same. And I don't think we have all the information to assume that.
No, I'm not assuming that. That's how the deal is structured. The deal is structured as a merger of equals, so that is how the stock is going to get split. Now, you may have a question, and that's a fair question. Who is this company, and why are they worth anything? That's a fair question, because right now, Hut has agreed to give them the identical valuation and split this thing 50-50. So
Hut is saying that they believe they're worth the same amount of money as Hut.
That's exactly right.
Right.
And understand, the amount of power that they have access to is
9,000 BTC. See,
what's better having
questions? If you have any questions for Sue, you can type them in there now. Tom's gonna hate me for this, and maybe if Tom likes them, he'll use them. But one of the questions I would like to ask: any of your idle miners, are you able to plug them in now into that capacity?
I'm going to answer that for you right now.
Okay.
I don't have to ask Sue. Every miner they have, they'll be able to plug in the day those two companies merge.
No,
and
but
as
why
many
can't
miners as they can buy.
Why can't they do it earlier?
Well, they're not partners yet. So
what?
you got to
formalities. We shook on it.
Those are some of the questions that go. So that's a great question, George, but those are some of the things we got to find out more about. This is an extremely complicated deal, and I wish they hadn't have presented it in a way where it's mathematically confusing to people. Also, it's automatically going to be confusing because the other company's a private company. If this was a merger of two equals of publicly traded companies, we'd get to look through all their financial statements for both companies, and we could decide for ourselves, is this really an equal merger or is somebody getting the short end of the stick? But because one of these companies is a private company, we don't have the luxury of doing that, so it makes it more difficult to determine, is this a good deal or a bad deal? So there's no doubt. I mean, that's why I say I don't have enough information to know. I know there's some potential huge upsides, but if they've valued this wrong and they're giving too much of the company away, then that could counter all of the potential positives that come along with this deal. So that's where I'm at right now. I want more answers. But I do think there's a lot of valid questions, and this deal could either be a great deal or a bad deal still. We don't, in my opinion, we don't know yet.
Yeah, that's a good one. You should try to get information on U.S. Bitcoin and see if you can interview somebody.
I mean, I can reach out to them and see if they'll...
Well, when you're talking to Sue off the record, see if you can say, hey, I want to do an interview. Is there somebody over there I can talk to? Yada, yada, yada. And because if she sets it up for you or gets you the email of the person you need to speak to, it'll go a lot better. You know what I mean?
Okay, I will do that. I will do that. I will ask Sue, who's your, who's the
Yeah.
Sue over
Don't you
there?
guys, yeah, I think you guys agree with that we should definitely, find out, how they came up with their valuation and how long, and find out anything about them, because nobody really knows anything about them except that the guy was with Riot, right? Was he with Riot?
I think he has some background with both Riot and Marathon. I believe I remember reading. This is a big company. I mean, if you just read the statistics that are in the press release, this is not some small. Now, they're private, so, I don't know what their debt looks like. That's a big, fair question. How's your balance sheet look? Because Hut's balance sheet looks great. So are they merging with an awful balance sheet? We don't know yet.
And then that's another thing, Tom. They're going to have to get, someone's going to have, one of the big firms is going to have to audit them too before they go public.
They'll have to audit the smaller company, and I'm sure that company, I say smaller, it's a merger theoretically of equals, the private company, I'm sure they're already getting an audit. It does not have to be from one of the big four. People would be more comfortable if it was. Obviously, that always helps. But yeah, that doesn't mean we're going to get to see those audited financial statements before the deal's done. We won't see them until after the deal is done.
And this just in, brought to you by Bitcoin Auditors. We're CPAs and we audit Bitcoin miners. We understand the ins and outs of crypto. Sorry.
And thanks for playing.
This deal is very complicated. I don't know. I mean, and then everybody's talking about the Web3 and the whole data mining thing that Hut has. Remember we were going to talk to Sue about all this for data?
Yeah, and there's a lot of integration there too, and there's a lot of other sources of, what everybody now calls fiat revenue. I just call it revenue. There's a lot of other sources of revenue that this company is going to generate. So theoretically, one of the things that they're hoping to do, and Hut has always hoped to do this, is grow both sides of their business. They've been clear on that in their recent conference calls, and that they want to grow both sides of this business. And if they can find a way to fund the entire business outside of the Bitcoin mining operations, then you could argue, hey, you know what? They could hold Bitcoin until it goes sky high because they're not diluting their shares. They're not having to go get debt. They're paying for their business with the other portions, the other segments of their company. So I know that's the theory they're driving towards. Whether or not they accomplish that and get to that goal, I don't know. But this has some, economies of scale on that as well. So theoretically.
That brings me to my next question. Do you know anything about their database program software that they have, or how they're storing it, or
about Hut 8 or
Hut 8? Yeah, Hut 8.
I mean, Hut 8 has just a high performance computing. They got
quantum.
There is no quantum.
I don't know.
Quantum.
There is.
The people use the word a lot, but there's no quantum computer.
It's not quantum storage.
Somebody may be calling something quantum storage, but that word is grossly misused. That's all I can tell you. I am not a scientist, and by the way, neither is Bill Nye, who calls himself the science guy, but he actually
really?
has no background in science at all. He's just interested in it. But anyway,
I digress. Wow, we were getting some really good questions. Before it goes away, Crypto M, question for both of you. If you had one Bitcoin miner stock to put your money into, which one would you go with and sell it in 1 to 3 years? Somebody said Riot, by the way. RT said Riot.
RT said Riot. I mean, it's
What's
hard.
Yours?
Unofficially, I cannot answer that question because I am a very firm believer in having every single one of these Bitcoin mining companies has a different philosophy, and I cannot be 100% sure whose is going to be the best. Now, you can assess risk. I think Riot's probably the lowest risk. So if I was just to go on risk, in my opinion, it would be Riot, from a risk-reward standpoint in order to mitigate my risk. But
what do you mean by risk? Explain a little bit about risk. Because I don't think people understand what you mean about risk.
I mean, in your investment, whether it's in a Bitcoin miner or any investment, there is automatically risk involved in every investment. So in other words, none of these things are a guarantee. The price could go up, they could go down, and every single company, I don't care which one it is, ask AOL, ask Yahoo. Those were some of the biggest. Yahoo was one of the large market caps in the whole market, and now they're not even a publicly traded company. They're an afterthought. So anything can go. Personal experience. Ask Eastman Kodak, which was once the 13th largest company in the world, and they're a penny stock now. So there is risk.
When I was 18, I said they were going out of business, and no one would listen to me. But just so you guys all know, I was right. Sorry, go on.
I got to interrupt myself. If anybody can smash the like button, we need just a few more likes. We're getting there.
So now, just so you know, Crypto M said, I mean to make as much profit as possible.
Well, then you're maximizing your risk.
Right, but then you're maximizing risk. And how do you weigh that in? Is there a way to weigh in risk?
Yeah, I mean, this has to do with this. This is why I look at balance sheets. And, so from a day-to-day, if you're a day trader or even a short-term swing trader, reviewing somebody's balance sheet and income statement and footnotes is of very little use because you're trading on trends. But if you're a long-term investor, if you want to understand your risk in a company, there is a very different risk for a company that, let's say, has a 10-to-1 current ratio, meaning they have $10 of current assets for every $1 of current liabilities, versus some other Bitcoin miners that have $1 of current assets for every $2 of current liabilities. So if you play that out, in the short term, they literally don't have enough money to pay their bills. That doesn't mean they're going out of business immediately, but it's certainly a much higher risk equation. And that's just one of many, many different ratios and things to look at. Cash burn rate, there's an awful lot to look at to assess risk. So I try to go through. That's why I do deep dive videos. I can't do everybody's due diligence, but I can show you guys my process and some of the stuff that I look at. But again, I look at it as a buy and hold long-term trader for the most part. So when you're looking at those deep dives, if you're gonna try to day trade, those are gonna be of no value to you at all, because that's not how day trading works. But the question that we were just asked, to sell in 1 to 3 years and maximize your profits, if you want to maximize your profits, then you're going to take some risk on. Then in my opinion, you're in more of a Bitfarms or a CleanSpark. And not that those are high risk or unreasonable risk. They just don't have the strength of balance sheet. The risk would be Bitcoin goes into another 2 years of crypto winter. Which company is going to survive? Because some companies aren't going to survive that. Most companies aren't going to survive that. So that's all a part of your risk-reward equation. What do you think? What do you think the future of Bitcoin is? Alex is saying GE was the largest at one time in the Kodak era. Yeah, I mean, GE was a monster. Listen, IBM owned the entire computer space, and now they're really not even a computer company. They're a consulting company. So this is what can happen. I mean, so to Alex's point, there's risk in everything.
Somebody said you might not want to be in Bitcoin miners if you want low risk.
And I agree with that. I think I say in almost every single video, these are relative to the market. These are all high risk investments. So it depends on your own risk tolerance. Now, even within that, some of them are much higher risk than others. But yeah, this is not for the faint of heart. If you're looking for low risk investments, you might want to go to the Dow or buy index funds or actually basically almost anything, except for these small cap high growth stocks can be ultra high risk, and this particular industry is amongst the highest of the high risk industries.
Anybody going to the Super Bowl? Does anybody care about the Super Bowl?
Oh, that's coming right up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's this weekend. So they were talking about the prices of tickets. They've been plummeting. I'm like, who's going to buy?
That's because my Bills didn't make it, so nobody wants to go see it.
The cheapest is $32.39, $3,239, and that's a bargain if you think about inflation.
My last request. Thank you. We just hit 100 concurrent viewers. That's our weekly goal. We got 61 likes. Smash the like button if you would. And once again, welcome to Frank Holmes, our latest and greatest Talkin' Investing Squad member.
I was going to say the same thing, Core Scientific. He doesn't care about risk. But then again,
right.
I mean, that would have been, what'd you say, it's up 400%?
Yeah, the Core Scientific was trading for 4 cents.
4 cents.
Recently. They went from, let's do it.
Do it.
See, it's funny, you look at these and you can't tell by looking, but this was January 3rd. This was February 2nd. That's 1 month. That's a 1,300% return on your investment. So this is why I say that's what can happen with these small cap high growth stocks, and even more so these Bitcoin miners, more so than almost anything else, because they're a leveraged play on a cryptocurrency, which is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is already one of the highest volatility things. So you've got a leveraged play on a high volatility asset, and it's a small cap thing. I mean, you can get these, you get 10Xs and 40Xs, and of course, if it's 2022, maybe you lose 90% of your value in every single one of the stocks. So it goes both ways. That's the risk reward. So don't put money in here that you need for the next 5 years or the next 10 years, because you may or may not get it back.
Dude, I was so lucky to get out of Google, by the way.
I know. I thought they were going to get a bounce back after that.
I did. I got right out, and I just lost $1,000. I was like, thank you. I'll take it. Because it's gone down and down and down. All over an AI.
That's another big. So the two big issues right now out there are crypto staking in the U.S. That's got to be the issue. There's two issues dominating. And the other one is this, these chatbots being integrated with between Google and Microsoft. And it's funny, I had somebody just ridicule the heck out of me on one of my videos because, Bing is now integrating. Yes, Bing. I know maybe you guys don't even remember what that is. And I went through the fact that, listen, Bing is irrelevant. They're somewhere between 3 to 5% of the market for search. Microsoft's the second largest company in the United States. There's times it's been the largest company in the United States. So they have as much money to throw at this as they want. They failed at search and they just moved on because that's an incredibly diversified company. Whether you like them or you don't like them, it just is. And they bailed on that. But now they have circled back around to it. So, people were mocking my video that, Bing, no one's ever going to use Bing. But guess what? If Microsoft throws the full weight behind Bing and this AI thing works for them and it's a more user-friendly scenario, you might see some people, and I'm not saying, oh, they're going to take over in the place of Google. Google has dominance in that section that's just unprecedented. But yeah, Bing could or they could be nothing. I don't know, but it's certainly, I'll tell you this, the market thinks that's going to happen because Microsoft is way up and Google is way down. Microsoft had a demonstration on Tuesday, I believe, and it went great. And then Google had a demonstration the next day, and they asked their AI a question, and it got the answer wrong. Now, it was very it's not like it got it grotesquely wrong and it was way off, but it just goes to the point that, they asked it a question and it actually did answer that question wrong. It was a question, I think, about a space telescope. Tell me something, that this space telescope did, and what it said, the space telescope had done, but it said it was the first one to ever do that, and that was false. There was one 15 years ago that took a picture of an exoplanet, meaning a planet from another solar system that's not our own. So they did a display, they asked the AI a question, and Google's AI got the question wrong. So that, their stock got beat up on that while Microsoft's was surging. Not that I'm saying one is, I have no idea where all that's going, but it's a big thing. And in case you guys haven't noticed, this Chat GPT or whatever it is, that's the biggest news there is out there right now.
You think that's the biggest news? Well, you mean in general, not talking about like Bitcoin or anything.
No, in general, I think that is dominating the investment world. It's dominating the news cycle, particularly this week, but even in general. I tested it. I have to tell you, I signed on to ChatGPT and I asked it a bunch of questions on a topic I have some knowledge on, and it nailed everything. So I was surprised. I went in very, very skeptical. I expected very little, and I could not stump that thing.
I can stump it. Ask him what CUDAB is.
Well, it doesn't know, and you're the one who told me this, and I tested it out. It doesn't know anything from the last, I think, year.
Right. Yep. The last year. It's
so
2021.
That's
actually, it's a year and 2 months now.
If you ask it a current event, it can't answer that question. But I was asking it accounting type questions, and it knew what it was talking about. And I tried to throw it some curveballs, but it got it. Alex said Google rushed that due to Microsoft's successful demo. Google will get it right. Besides, Google has 98% of search. Yeah, I mean, Google dominates the search. There's just no debating that. So the point of my video was not that Bing is here to take over, because Bing is not even an afterthought right now. But the fact is, they nailed their presentation and their stock, and they're twice the size of Google, and their stock spiked. Google's the third biggest company. Microsoft's the second biggest. And by the end of this year, they might be the biggest. That's just my opinion.
I might have just broke Chat GBT, just so you guys all know. I said, what is CUDAB? And I said, CUDAB equals, can you do any better? He says, I'm sorry, CUDAB equals doesn't seem to be a well-defined statement.
Well, there you go. That's a fair assessment.
Oh, and did you know I can't search websites either?
Where's it getting its information from?
It says, I'm sorry, but I don't have the ability to access external websites. I am AI language model trained by OpenAI and do not have the capability to browse the web. So if there's specific you would like to know about the website CUDAB.com,
Yeah, what are they calling these? They're language modules or something. They're not. So there's a lot more to come on this front. We've only seen what they're showing us. Who knows, the technology they're in the middle of or already have that, is coming next.
Well, and they just shut. Aren't they going public?
Who, ChatGPT?
Yeah,
I
they
don't
are.
know. Microsoft has a huge investment in that, and it's the technology they use for their Bing. And yes, no, I have not used Bing in 15 years. And I don't know. I think when it came out, I tried it, and it was no good in my opinion, and that was that. So, having said that, like I said, I mean, if Microsoft wants to throw their weight behind that, and they got the new technology, don't be surprised if they get some part of the market share. They're not looking to replace Google. I mean, that's not happening. But eat into their market share, that's a possibility.
This is interesting. Chat GBT.
Are you chatting right now with it?
Yeah, I was asking it. Yeah, now I'm back. Okay, I missed a lot of comments. Except
Catch us up.
Alex's wife is going to the Super Bowl. I think Alex might have something to do with State Farm, because he said that he drove by to see the logo at State Farm. Does that mean it's like State Farm is putting on the Super Bowl? Or does that mean that State Farm just like
Maybe
has
that's
something to do with their stadium or something like that?
that could be the name of the stadium.
I cannot miss Biz 101. Listen to what he said about CleanSpark. Has the best business model, in my opinion. Sell the Bitcoin to grow the infrastructure and make more money. Fastest growing miner. That's why all other miners are now wanting to copy and sell. I agree and I disagree, just so you know, Biz 101. The one thing I would say is it's always good to save money because you never know when you're going to need it. So when you grow too much and you cash flow it the wrong way and you don't prepare for the bad times, you go out of business.
So Seth is reminding us, thank you, Seth. Microsoft has a 49% controlling stake in ChatGPT. And Alex is letting us know that is the name of the stadium.
Oh, it is the name. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I figured it was just another Mercedes-Benz stadium. Come on. Nobody has. Well, how many stadiums does Mercedes-Benz have?
There's a few of those that have an awful lot of stadiums.
Space Oddity says something about staking. These platforms will be banned. Staking, no more staking. I think there will be direct staking from wallet to network. This is actually, he said a God thing, but I think he meant a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of the argument. If you guys check out the video I put out today, I went through Kraken. They're not offering staking in the United States anymore. They settled with the SEC, and the SEC was coming after them, and they settled, and they agreed to pay $30 million, and they agreed they would not offer staking services in the United States ever again. So that's what's going on. And Kraken is one of the big, but Kraken is centralized. So I think that's what Space Oddity is getting to. Right now, a lot of people are staking and keeping their crypto on these central exchanges. All the problems that we have had in cryptocurrency tend to center around the centralized exchanges and some of the abuses that they've taken. If you do this on a decentralized platform, it's still your keys, your coins, or whatever they say. So, yeah, there's really not much, if anything, that the SEC can do about staking on decentralized platforms. They're not going after validators. This is all about the retail investor. The SEC is trying to say that they're there to protect the retail investor, and they want control of really basically the entire cryptocurrency universe if they had their way.
I mean, and again, I don't think staking's getting banned anytime soon, just so you guys know, personally, because that means that they have to come out with rules and regulations, and they're not going to do that anytime soon. I don't believe so. They might put some type of, I wouldn't say like an emergency use, like it would have to be an emergent executive order, and I don't know if you could do that, Tom. Could you?
I I can't answer that honestly. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't know.
know.
That's the only thing they could do, to stop it. But I guess, but the other thing is the SEC couldn't say we're going to throw you in jail, like they probably said to Kraken, and then Kraken's like, my bad, I'm out. But they're
Andrew
just going to leave the United States. That's all they're doing. They're just not doing it in the United States.
Andrew was saying that he had over 50,000 staked between 10 different coins.
Was it working out? How
And
long
then
did you have that done? And was it working out for you?
Kraken staking was different than what others like Celsius, Voyager, etc. were doing. So you can explain that. I don't really know. And I do know there was a variety of different products, and that is Coinbase's point. The product offering they have for staking is according to them, much different than even what Kraken was doing and much safer. And they're not going to be bullied quite as easily, probably, as Kraken. But, I mean, they're a publicly traded company, so they absolutely fall under the SEC.
Tom, everybody's asking you about the merger again of HUD 8. But the only thing I would say about staking through your personal wallet, don't you have to put a lot of trust into the person that you're giving the coin to for staking? And, I mean, I can see people getting ripped off left and right.
I don't think you have to give your coin to stake it. You just can't take your coin back. So,
Explain. What do you mean?
in other words, you're putting it up as collateral, if you will.
But it doesn't leave your personal wallet?
You guys let me know on the stream, but that's the way. If you do this through a DeFi situation, that's how I think this works. On a centralized platform, nothing's ever in your own wallet. So if you were doing this on Kraken or Coinbase or any of those, you don't. It's not in your own wallet necessarily.
Yeah, FTX. I heard a really interesting story about FTX today. Put the little thing up, Tom, because I ain't talking about it.
Here we go. We got a possible Georgism.
Real interesting, and it's hard to verify these things. So yeah, I don't want to spread any rumors.
Andrew's saying Kraken was staking networks. Space Oddity was saying the platforms say they are, quote, staking your crypto for you, but what they are actually doing is stealing your crypto and playing fast and loose with it. Voyager, Celsius, FTX, BlockFi, Nexos. So, yeah, I mean, that's the reason that all of those are the reason that the SEC has so much fuel to go after everybody else, because there has been a series of absolute debacles, and something does need to be done. I don't know what it is. I'm not a huge regulations person. However, I also, I don't think it should be the Wild West where everybody's just stealing everybody's money.
It's funny because there was a person that we saw on YouTube, and they were really promoting staking and FTX. And what's really sad is that you screw up. Just admit it and go forward. Not, oh, I was duped like everybody else. Hey, you make mistakes. It's just, it sucks when you make mistakes with other people's money.
Well, and I think FTX was out there trying to sponsor everything and everyone they could sponsor. So, and they were probably given good money, and now we know why. But
this cost me a lot of money to do. Okay, buddy. You know who I'm talking about, right?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It cost me a lot of money to make these videos, and and I was just using that money, and now I'm out money, and now this is really difficult for me. It's like, cry me a river. Talk about HUD 8 one more time, if you don't mind. The merger. Should we explain it like the hamburger? You want me to explain it?
Give your hamburger example, because I think that's...
So basically, you get a hamburger, right? But you have a friend, and they want half of the hamburger. right? So you take that hamburger and you split it in half. One company's getting half of the burger, the other company's getting the other half. And it doesn't matter how many people you have to feed off of your half of the hamburger. So one company only has to feed maybe 20 people. The other half has to feed 2 million. Don't bitch at me if you're hungry at the end of the night, okay?
It's right. It is a merger of equals. So
That
each
is
company will
crazy to
end
think
up.
about. That is insane to think about it that way.
What?
That really sucks.
To think
What
about
I
the
just
hamburger?
said, yeah, about the hamburger.
But it's an what you're missing is it's an awfully big hamburger. It's $1 billion hamburger. So
right.
you
So
know,
I have a question.
you can feed a lot of
Did it
people.
say- did it say who was going to be the largest shareholder in the company yet?
I don't know. I'm guessing it will probably be somebody on the other side because
Mike Ho?
they have a higher concentration of their
Mike
own
Ho.
shares. Yeah, but the board of the chairman of the board is going to stay with Hut 8. The CEO is going to be from Hut 8. The CFO is going to be from Hut 8. I mean, this is a merger of equals, but really it's Hut 8. So the question is,
I
are
don't
they
agree
getting
with
their
that.
money's worth?
How can it be a merger? I mean, how can it you say it's Hut 8 because if the other guy has more stock in his half of his company, he's going to be the primary person that owns it, right?
No, there'll be no majority shareholders. It's a publicly traded company, and even the biggest shareholder will still only hold a very small percentage of the company. So, it's the board of directors, and the chairman of the board is going to be Hut 8's chairman.
I've watched Wall Street enough time to know what you can do in these meetings, okay?
We talking hostile takeover?
Yeah, hostile takeover. No, I mean, that's kind of crazy to think about that you would do something dude, that's got to be a bad deal for HUD because think about this, Tom. That's almost like a desperate move.
I am not going to weigh in one way or the other. I have told
Okay.
you guys I want to wait. A lot of people think I already weighed in. I got a lot of hate and anger on my Hut 8 video, but I said very clearly at the end of the video, this is not enough information for me to make any decisions off of. We need to learn more about this deal, so I will probably make another video in the future when we get enough information to talk intelligently about it because, that was press release number 1. So there will be more to follow, and I don't know if this is a good deal or not. Maybe this is the best deal in the history of time, or maybe it's a train wreck. I can't, with only pieces of the puzzle and not all the information, how can you do anything other than guess?
So, I wonder if the Bitcoin will be part of the deal or not.
Yeah, the Bitcoin's in the deal. It's going to be one
is?
company, and the company's going to be called, by the way, the company's going to be called Hut 8.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
So Mike wants to keep his name down low. Down low with Ho.
He's the founder of the other company is going to be the strategic something, some member of management, but he's not going to be the president. He's not going to be the CEO. He's not going to be the chief operating officer.
Oh, that is really interesting because they're both Chinese people. Never mind.
I feel like I think the chairman of the board, you can double check me on this, but I think he might be Japanese.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that for a fact, so feel free to fact check me on that.
Okay, hang on. Let me use Chat GBT right now. And Alex said HUD 8 controls this deal. That would be interesting. A lot of questions to ask Sue. Tom's interviewing Sue on Monday, so if you guys have any questions, because I know there's a lot of new people in the chat now, if you guys can think of anything that might be concerning to you and Tom thinks is good, he will ask.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get, I wish you all, Alex, thank you. Alex said, first, let's see the shareholder vote. You're all premature. So, that's the bottom line at this point. I did a video and went through the details that they presented of what the deal is going to be, but obviously that was not enough to truly understand the deal. So there's a lot more information forthcoming. And yeah, absolutely, the shareholder vote is going to tell a lot. They're only
I don't
referring
think any
to
company cares about shareholders.
Barry.
Sorry.
Just so that you know, they're calling it New Hut in the press release just to differentiate. But the company's actually going to be Hut. I think it's like Hut Incorporated or Hut 8 Incorporated or whatever. They're going to keep Hut's name, but in the press release, just to differentiate from Hut, the other company, and the new company that will be formed, they called it New Hut.
New Hut, huh?
Well, I mean, I know why he thinks that, because it says it in the press release. New Hut, New Hut, New Hut. But that's just a thing they do.
Not enough information is a red flag also. Can the miners be banned from Eric?
Banned from where? From
I don't know.
what?
He just said,
From...
can they be banned? I think what he's talking about, like they did it in New York. You know how New York is doing their best to limit miners?
Well, that's absolutely a regional question. There's no doubt about it. And it's not even by country. It can be by state or by province or what have you. Right? New York does not treat Bitcoin miners the same way Texas does.
Start spreading the news. Sorry. I'm leaving today. You know the song I'm singing, right?
New York, New York.
Here you go. If I can't leave here, I can make it anywhere. It's up to you. Sorry.
So here's what I will say about the Hut 8 deal. Here's what I want to understand more about. So I would pose this question to you, and I don't know what the answer is, but I think this is a critical question. This company they're merging with has access to a massive amount of power. At the end of the day, what we found out here, right, in 2001, everybody ran out and bought as many Bitcoin mining machines as they could. They paid whatever they had to pay for them. They gave 100% deposits up front and paid astronomical prices, willing to wait 6 months or a year. But the bottom line was, when they got those machines, what a lot of the companies learned was, hey, you know what, we don't have any place to plug these things in. So, you know, we got 50,000 of them in boxes or 80,000 of them in boxes, or we're not taking, you know, we're not even gonna accept delivery of the, you know, the last 2/3 of what we ordered. So this new company has, I think, and I don't know the exact details, but I think it was 825 megawatts. So that's enough to plug a lot more than 6 exahash in. So you have to ask yourself, what's the real, when you're trying to scale up as a Bitcoin miner, what's the critical path item that's holding you up? Is it getting your hands on machines, or is it getting your hands on access to cheap and affordable power?
So they can't have a power problem after this deal, right? I mean, it's their power at that point in time, correct?
That one facility they're in, they'll just leave in all likelihood if they can't come to an agreement. I think that ultimately they would still just like to come to an agreement there and continue doing what they're doing. But if they can't, then they'll just take their machines and bring them somewhere else.
Alex is saying that, yeah, we heard that we actually are in South Florida. It looks like we're going to have another private jet down here, Tom.
Who's that?
Hut.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Well, welcome to the party.
Hey, welcome to the party. It is insane, guys, when you're down here to watch the jets fly in. I'm a pseudo pilot, and I sit there and watch freaking plane after, 40 million, 10 million, 5 million, 80 million, 120 million. It's insane. It's like candy too. That's like it's insane. I've never seen so many in my life. Sorry.
So just a couple comments. Robert saying, who said they have cheap and affordable power? I'm not saying that. I'm simply posing the question. These are all fair questions. So I'm not I'm not saying this is a great deal and this is why they do it. This is what I think we need to know the answers to. Righteous Lion is saying it's going to be hard for upside with $1 billion market cap. So, that's fair too. I think that's now down to more like 850 million based on the hit that the stock has taken. But the point is that's going to be the third biggest market cap company. So, is that justified? So those are all fair questions. My only point is I don't think we know the answer to those questions. So until we do, we don't know what opportunity exists on the other side of this deal.
You know what we should do, Tom, is whatever day that was announced, whatever day Hut announced that, let's figure out what the price of the stock was, and let's pay attention to this whole deal so we can report the actual, was it a good deal for the stockholders, or was it another way that the stockholders got ripped off?
What's your time frame to make that decision?
All the time.
Oh, well, we can follow along and say, so far, not a good deal.
Yeah.
Or so far, hello, Colton.
Testing to see if my credit card works.
Yes.
It works, Colton.
I believe so. Appreciate it, Colton, and hello.
Good. It was getting a little, it felt like the atmosphere was getting heavy again, so thank you. We needed to lighten it up. No, but I think that's a good thing. To me, anytime stuff like this happens, it just always seems like the freaking shareholders get ripped. I mean, wait.
All right.
We were talking about Core. Core, Tom was saying, I'm just paraphrasing what Tom was saying, and he'll correct me when I'm wrong, is that most likely the investors, the stockholders of Core, are going to get bupkis. Nothing when it's all said and done.
I mean, there is a likelihood. We don't know what it is. If you look at all of the Chapter 11s, oftentimes the shareholders end up with almost nothing or nothing. There are exceptions to that. There are certain times where the Chapter 11 turned out to be a big win for the shareholders, but that is absolutely the exception to the rule. More times than not, Chapter 11 for the company can be a great thing, but for the shareholder, it's usually not a very good thing.
Yeah, I know. You can mine Bitcoin without miners.
So Alex, my answer to that is you can now buy miners for 15 cents on the dollar for what everybody paid for them. What Marathon paid for them, what Riot paid for them, what a lot of the other companies that made these gigantic orders paid. It's now just about 15 cents on the dollar to go buy new ones right now. So, that to me, that's less of the critical path item. That's not what we're running out of. Now there's a glut of machines on the market, an excess of machines. So you can always go get machines if you have the power. But apparently what we've found out in the last year is you can't go get the power just because you have the machines.
No, you can't.
That is a lesson certain companies learned in a very painful way. And I think Hut is one of those companies. So this is, I think, partially in response to the fact that this is what happened to them.
So what you're saying is we could have a different... Are we able to see if Hut is mining like they were last month?
They did not put out a monthly operational update yet.
That's a red flag.
And they put out a press release, and the amount that they mined in December was very low. So if I had to guess, it was another very low number, and they may or may not even tell us what it is. I still think they should be putting out a monthly operational update, regardless of the fact that they're, looking potentially to go into this new business transaction. That one thing's got nothing to do with the other.
Why did you, Michael just said something about CleanSpark and earning report. Didn't look good. Why is everybody saying that CleanSpark's earnings didn't look good?
Well, mostly because the market beat them up. Today was a bad day, and CleanSpark actually evened out a little bit with the pack. Early on, they were getting beat up more so than all the other Bitcoin miners. I did not think it was a bad report. We all know that this was the period from October 1st to December 31st. So that is the period that FTX happened. Bitcoin crashed. Bitcoin was averaging around $17,000 for that period. So every single person that puts out their I'm calling it the fourth quarter, but the quarter ended December 31st, 2022. They're not going to have a good quarter if they were a Bitcoin miner, because Bitcoin hit its, 5-year low. So if you look at the rest of this, I will say upon first glance, it looks to me like their cost per coin went up a little bit, but they were still making a nice gross profit margin. And it looked to me like they managed their overhead. There was no big variation in overhead. So I thought they managed their costs. They grew their business massively and managed their cash flow. So I know that everybody is just crushing this earnings report for some reason, but we already knew Bitcoin crashed. So we already knew their revenue was going to be awful. That's their only revenue is Bitcoin. So, and Bitcoin crashed. So yes, their top line was very bad, but every single Bitcoin miner's top line is going to be equally bad. Those are...
I'm just hoping for a soft landing, Tom.
Well, aren't we all?
There's going to be no soft landing.
You don't know. You never know.
Well, if there's a soft landing, that means we've already landed.
That could be.
Yeah.
You never know. That would be nice.
It would be. I can't believe that, but it is what it is, right? All right, well, hey, I'm going to sneak out, if it's okay with you, sir. Fine, sir.
Thank you, George, for joining us.
I had fun with everybody. This was great. Good
Friday
time. Good
stream.
Woohoo. Peace out.
All right.
Remember, be nice to everybody.
That's right.
Yeah. So who are you rooting for before I go this Super Bowl?
Who am I rooting for, or who's everybody else rooting for?
No, who you rooting for before I go? I want to know who you're rooting for. I'm going for the Eagles just because I can't let KC. We can't let KC win again. Sorry, you guys won it enough times. 34-31.
34-31 Eagles.
Yep.
I will say this: I underestimated the Eagles all year long. So yes. I won't underestimate them again. They are a much better team than I thought.
Do it for the Gipper. See you guys.
All right, George. See you later. All right, that's George. Hello, Brent. Hello, Raul. Alex says Cypher might have a terrific quarter, so that's going to be interesting to see Cypher's quarter because they're representing that their cost per coin is, half or less than half of everybody else. So, we'll get our first taste of that in the fourth quarter, but really that's not really going to tell the tale because they really didn't start mining in Odessa, which is the lion's share, the vast majority of their operations. So I will still probably hold out for the first quarter of 2023, but if they can get anywhere near the numbers they're talking about, then yes, they have a shot at having a good quarter. So we'll see. So Bitcoin never went below 15. So a lot of you are saying they lost money. Remember, there's when they talk cost per coin, or when I talk cost per coin, and actually when all the companies put it out, they're talking about their actual cash cost per coin. Now, obviously, at some point, and the companies were doing this at Bitcoin 40, 50, 60,000 and 69,000. At some point, they need to be profitable as a company. But in the meantime, in the middle of a crypto winter, what you need to be is cash flow positive. Otherwise, there's no reason to even turn your machines on. So depreciation is by far the biggest expense for all these companies. So with depreciation, but that is a non-cash item. So with depreciation, a lot of these companies, I would expect almost all of them are going to show a loss in the quarter ended December 31st, 2022. So that means that the cost of their energy plus the depreciation on their machines, but remember, that's a sunk cost. That's already been spent the depreciation is a non-cash item. So it still makes sense to mine Bitcoin and get as many as you can if you're making positive cash flow on it. So that's where most of the companies were at. Some of the companies were not even positive cash flow in the fourth quarter. And you saw a massive amount of self-curtailment, and a lot of these companies, the cost of energy fluctuates, from day to day and hour to hour. So, they were acting accordingly to try to mitigate, mining Bitcoin at a time where, they potentially would be losing money. So Colton, I don't think anything crazy happened today. He said he missed the beginning of the stream. If staking dies, does that mean coin is going down? That is from JD. So, JD, I just read an article today that it was some really small percent. It was hard for me to even believe it was such a small percent. But I think they said 3% of their revenue was from staking, which I find hard to believe. But they made it a point to put a press release out to say, this is a small percentage of what we do. Now, it was one of the things that they specifically mentioned on their conference call that they were hoping to turn into a bigger piece of their puzzle. So it's definitely bad news for Coin, but I don't know that they're going out of business. But their stock just got crushed on this news. And really, it's back-to-back news because their CEO came out and said, I think the SEC is going to try to ban staking, and then the next day Kraken comes out and settles with the SEC and agrees we're not going to do any more staking in the United States. So for Coinbase, that's a lot bigger deal. That is a US company. So let's see. Tim said, didn't they change their comp plan in Q4? So I know a lot of people, executive compensation is definitely a sticking point with a lot of people. And there are several of the Bitcoin mining companies where their executives get a lot of non-cash compensation. So, that becomes a personal investment issue. If that is something that you have that you think is bad, that could be a reason to not want to buy a stock. Everybody has their own opinion on that. I don't have a big problem. I think that small cap, high growth companies, if they want to recruit talent that's going to take them, remember, CleanSpark wasn't even a Bitcoin mining company 2 years ago. So they've gone from 0 exahash to 6, and they're looking to get to maybe 16 in a way where they have very little debt, and they still have the least amount of shares out of all the big Bitcoin mining companies. So in my opinion, I think management's done a good job. Having said that, are they getting paid a lot? Absolutely. So I do know I have a little different opinion. I know a lot of people are with Tim, I'm guessing, does not like the officer compensation, and he's not alone. That's a big issue for a lot of shareholders. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, and the question is, how do they get to 16? So that's a fair question, and I have that question as well. I've said in a bunch of my videos, I hope they don't go race out to 16. Unless, if Bitcoin runs up to 50,000, then I'm going to have a totally different opinion on that. Then they ought to go as fast and as furiously as they can. But, if this is a tough, bumpy year, they do not need to run from 6 to 16 exahash, in my opinion. And, part of what people might not like is their compensation is contingent on some of that growth. So they may be incentivized to grow faster than you might want them to grow, or than I might want them to grow, just because their stock incentives are kicking in. So hopefully they will be smart enough to realize, your stock incentives are of no value if you tank the whole company. But that's definitely a real issue. Thanks, Tim. Tim said, appreciate you. Thank you. And I appreciate you and all you guys for being on the stream and bringing up good questions. And I love these questions. I don't try to run from questions, and I'm usually the one asking questions. A lot of people I know, when they watch my video, or a lot of people don't even watch the video, they just look at a thumbnail and make an assumption and, put a mean comment. And it's like, usually I'm the one asking these questions. It's like, I don't want to just give my money to, I work hard for my money too. So when I invest it, I want to know what's going on. You put it all out on the field each and every day. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I try to. I show up, right? And this was not the last year was not easy, as you guys know. And it's easy to get ridiculed when these Bitcoin miners are. I got some super hate comments last night. So, I take them with a grain of salt, but yeah, that's out there. And obviously in a year where all these companies were down, 90% or more, it was an ugly year. But I was a dollar cost average person, and I stuck with my high conviction plays. I think that's going to work out in the end. That's what I believe, but obviously only time will tell if that's what happens. Biz101 said, I watch all your videos. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody who watches the videos. When you leave comments, it helps. So even those people leaving mean and nasty comments, what they don't know is actually that helps the channel. It's all got to do with the algorithm. So I appreciate all the comments. Also, a lot of you guys leave thoughtful and meaningful comments, so I appreciate those as well. Raul said the hate comes from people being frustrated. I mean, there's no doubt if you're in this sector, a lot of people may have lost money that they could not afford to lose. And I understand and sympathize with that. And if the way to feel better is to say mean things to me, then I guess so be it. So you don't incur a loss if you don't sell, said Raul as well. Yeah, I mean, that's what I believe. I don't think these stocks are down and out. If you think that the narrative on the company has changed and they're no longer going to be successful, then you may want to make a different decision. But if you still believe in the company and the future of Bitcoin, then, and that's where I'm at. So we'll only, we'll see if we're right. I'm guessing a lot of you are in a similar place, and, we'll see. I think we're right. I hope we're right. Ask Sue why this recent business move became strategy. And, Alex said, and you don't make money either. I know, I make no money for doing this. It actually cost me a little bit of money, but that's all right. I enjoy doing it, and I appreciate everybody's. And that's why I appreciate people's support, particularly the members. Thank you, Alex and Raul and all the members. All of that does help me just, get to closer and closer to break even to zero, which I appreciate. It helps keep the channel going, so much appreciated. Yeah, so I think there was I think a lot of people also were frustrated with the Hut 8 deal because there was some strategic changes. They're doing some things in there that they said they weren't going to do. And I understand that too. Like, they were pretty adamant they weren't going to sell any of their Bitcoin. That was a big, big part of their strategy. And now they're going to sell some of their Bitcoin. Hopefully, I think the way that was worded, it leaves the door open. What I think they're going to do is for these months in the middle, they're going to sell the Bitcoin that they mine so that they don't have to dilute themselves anymore, so that the deal remains the same. And then they did say they will reevaluate their treasury strategy if and when this deal is complete. So we will see. Because it really does seem like Jamie was pretty bent on keeping that stack of 9,000 Bitcoin. So we'll see how that plays out. That's going to be a big question. Every HUT 8 shareholder I speak to this is Righteous Lion, is really not happy with this merger. I hope you put Sue on the hot seat on Monday. I mean, I'm going to ask her questions. I know she's also in a box too, because this deal is pending approval from the shareholders. It's, pending approval from the SEC. So there may be a lot of things. She just says I can't answer that question, but I'll ask them. I mean, I'll ask what's the change in the Bitcoin hodl strategy. That's a fair question. Alex said, just out of curiosity, just between you and I, what does it cost you to provide this valuable insight? I mean, I don't edit my own videos. There's a bunch of the technical stuff, and it takes a long time, because when I put out 10 or 12 minute videos, but it's about 35 or 40 minutes of footage. So all of that has to get edited down. I've had to replace almost every single piece of equipment in 2 different computer setups. And I didn't realize, that's one of the things that makes me realize how old I am. I mean, I had to get a new graphics card. It was $2,000. It's like, that's not how it worked. In my day, we didn't pay $2,000 for a graphics card. So, that it adds up. It's not the end of the world, but it adds up. It's a lot of money. And even right now, I still think I need to replace a bunch of my equipment. And I would like to get the studio in better shape. But obviously that all costs money too. So not complaining, but just answering your question. Alex said, I am delighted with the move by HUT. So maybe we have somebody who likes what they're doing. Righteous Line said, I think the HUT 8 holders are not happy because they're going to be $1 billion market cap. I mean, doubling their market cap does seem like it makes them an awfully high market cap, and we're going to have to see how all that math works out. I mean, that is a valid question. Like, are shareholders getting their value out of this deal? Raul said maybe film and edit in 1080p only. See, I'm so ignorant to how all this works. I don't even know what I could be. I'll have to ask somebody that question. I could be doing this in a very cost ineffective way for all I know. Let's see. They all see CleanSpark growth by selling now. Everyone wants to sell. Yeah, I mean, CleanSpark was the first one to start selling. Some of these companies didn't exist yet, so they came right out of the box. Iris, I think, Cypher, a lot of those. Maybe not Cypher. They're holding some of theirs, but a lot of the newer companies just, they never had a hodl position. It was already, that ship had sailed. But yeah, there was a time in 2021 where almost every single Bitcoin miner was trying to hodl, and CleanSpark broke that mold and said, we're going to start selling. So over time, that has worked out for them. And now Marathon, yes, Biz101 Marathon is now selling. They sold 1,500 Bitcoin in January, and that's the first time they've ever sold Bitcoin in the history of their company. Now, that's not as big a deal as it seems like, because they've only been mining Bitcoin for 2 years. If you guys remember, that was Marathon Patent Group. For those of you who've been around a little bit, when we bought the stock, that was Marathon Patent Group. So they didn't have anything to do with Bitcoin, but obviously they went in full, all in. TP saying, in my opinion, we knew HUT would have to make a move somehow, acquiring a company, selling coins to invest in a new site. Yeah, I mean, we were definitely all waiting for what is HUT going to do. We had a conversation like on our live stream here. We had a conversation the day before this announcement came out. Like, how long before we should be nervous that HUT 8 hasn't announced, what their plans are. So something was imminent. The question is this the right thing? Is this what everybody wants? I'm reserving judgment. I mean, Jamie seems like somebody that knows what she's doing to me. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and wait to hear what the answers to these questions are, and then we'll know. TP says, so regardless of how you slice it, growth does require investment, which is too uncertain to call an investment currently, it seems. Yeah, I mean, you can't please all the people all the time. You have some people that do not like stock dilution, so they don't want people to use equity. You have some people, myself included, who think right now is the worst possible time to take on debt, especially if you're a Bitcoin miner. So, you don't want your Bitcoin miner taking on a lot of debt. The only other alternative is you sell your Bitcoin, but there's a lot of people that want to hodl all their Bitcoin. So, those are your three sources of potential revenue. You got to do one of them. And somebody's going to be upset because everybody has a different opinion on this. So we've talked about this a lot on the channel. I've always said, ultimately, if you can, in an ideal world, and Bitcoin 21,000 is not an ideal world. Bitcoin 17,000 was not an ideal world. But at some point, if you could pay for your entire operations and growth with half your Bitcoin and save the other half, or even if it's 60-40 or whatever the case may be, some hybrid approach, to me, is what would make the most sense for these companies going forward. And I think they will do that if they can get there. But it's very hard at Bitcoin 21,000 for them to do that. Alex said, half our listeners were complaining that HUT was not doing anything. And now they're complaining that they did something. Which is it? So that's very true. That was the number one complaint that we were getting, is how come HUT's not doing anything? They're just standing still. They're going to fall behind. The halving's coming. It's already too late. So those were the, I'm just talking comments in my comments section on the videos. I mean, I agree. We're going to have to wait and see. Like I said, I reserve judgment. Sue was nice enough to agree to come on the channel. I mean, I'm sure, this is a tough time for them too, right? These kinds of changes are hard, and it's a big change, but Jedi Knight said the HUT merger is shrouded in secrecy. What is USBTC balance sheet debt like? What about potential liabilities of USBTC? So I do think we need some of those answers. But they just announced the merger, so I'm waiting for more details to come out. But yeah, I do think we need more details before we can really truly know, is this a good deal or a bad deal? Just trying to catch up, guys. CleanSpark has diluted less than any of the other miners, and when they have, they've gotten a lot of bang for their buck. That says Gary. DEFCON 2 disagrees. Look at how much CleanSpark diluted last year. But I did, at their December 31st financial statements, they had 71 million shares outstanding. So I'm not sure if they issued any in January. They didn't really buy any new machines in January, I don't believe. But they may have issued some more. They sold their Bitcoin to pay for their operations. So, even with all the dilution that they've done, they're still only at 71 million shares. So I feel like they've been responsible with their dilution. And again, it comes down to, where are you going to get the money? It's better than having gone out and taken out a loan, because we saw the companies that did borrow money and collateralize that money with either their Bitcoin or their machines. Those are the companies that ended up in big trouble. There were 6 or 7 companies that have had to do massive restructuring of their entire business already. So one of the things we talk about is, other than Core Scientific filing for Chapter 11, nobody's really gone out of business. Yeah, but Strongholds had to totally redo their business model. Argo Blockchains had to totally redo their business model. Mawson's had to totally redo their business model. Any's had to totally redo their business model. Gree, I believe, gave most of their machines back, if I'm remembering correctly. So, or it may have been Iris that did that. Stock ticker IREN. So a lot of these companies, because they went out and took debt out instead of equity, they paid the price on that side. There's no perfect answer, unfortunately. It would be nice, and I think there is a perfect answer. Bitcoin 50,000. At Bitcoin 50,000, all these questions are gone. But that's not where we are right now, unfortunately. So these companies have to pick, whichever is the smartest approach, whatever's the, some hybrid, hopefully, approach to moving forward, because they do need to grow going into the halving. We see there are companies that are growing a lot. So, 2 exahash isn't going to do it at the halving. Wisdom Bites says, I'm at a loss why so many here, including Tom, are so fully invested in CleanSpark when history shows Mara is the fastest horse and now Cypher is following Mara. Winners keep winning and losers keep losing. I mean, everybody is definitely entitled to have their favorite. I showed everybody my top 8. I have Marathon as number 5 in my top 8. I think they have a massive amount of potential, but the fact is, CleanSpark, from a production standpoint, absolutely destroyed Marathon in 2022. It was not even close. So now it is very close. But even in this last month, CleanSpark still mined more than Marathon did, right? I think it was 697 to 687, so they were virtually equal. I think they're 2 of the best companies out there. Marathon, I think, has a lot more upside if they can finish executing the plan they're in the middle of. I'm not a Marathon hater. I think there's massive, massive potential there. I think they haven't necessarily realized it. And another thing with them is that they've really fallen short. They're 13 or 14 monthly operational reports in a row, not doing what they said they were going to do. And investors just naturally lose confidence when you say you're going to do one thing, and then the next month you say, well, we didn't do it this month, but we're still going to do it, going forward. So those are some of the reasons. But I like Marathon. I hope they do what they do. And I earlier in the stream, I was talking about the fact I didn't do it, but I was going to buy some Marathon today. But I think we may be in for a little more of a pullback next week, and so maybe I'll wait until next week. But yeah, everyone's going to have a different opinion, and these guys all do have different business models, and that's why I don't hold just any one stock. And I get all the times the question, well, if you could just own one stock, which one would it be? I wouldn't do that, because there's too many different business models, and I'm not sure which one is going to be the ultimate winner. I do like the companies that are operating at a high level. The CleanSpark and Bitfarms, they had all good operational reports all 12 months of the year last year. So that's one thing they did right. They didn't do everything right? Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. Their balance sheets aren't necessarily as strong as some of the other companies, and everybody's got their pros and cons. So that's why I say these guys all have a different way of trying to get to the finish line. So Tim's saying they talked a lot about their uptime. I'm not sure if they pushed maintenance off to try to achieve that uptime and get to that number. I guess we'll have to see. And then February is an oddball month because it's 28 days. So it's important to look at coins per day versus, we don't want to compare February to January because it's got 10% less days in it. So that makes a difference. And I'm not saying CleanSpark is perfect. I have, until this week, I just got to the point where I think if I go add everything up, I think CleanSpark might be bigger than my Bitfarms position, but they're pretty close, and my Riot position is almost the exact same size as well. And if I didn't have the Riot position, I would have Marathon. To me, those two, I don't want to have a gigantic position in both. Tim's saying, go all in on Marathon. I'm going to, in all likelihood, I'm going to reopen. And just so that you know, Marathon's the first Bitcoin mining stock I ever bought. So I bought Marathon in I don't know, September, October, November of 2020. So I got Marathon has been very good to me, whereas a lot of these other Bitcoin miners, I started buying after, and they have not been so good to me. So Marathon has treated me very well. I know they're down, but I do think they're down. I think they're undervalued right now, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, but I think they're way oversold. And so I'm hoping if there's a pullback next week, I will definitely probably open up a Marathon position. I do expect good things from them at the end of the day. And, they don't have to go find the machines to get to 23 exahash. They've already got them. They just need to have their partners execute in a way where they all get plugged in and they can mine them efficiently and make money. Tim's saying, yeah, no one's topping last month. Yeah, January's numbers, the big guys put up big numbers in January, and it was nice to see. It was good. Bitcoin, Bitcoin's still only at 21. It got up as high as 24,000 at one point, but these are still low numbers. So it was nice to see everybody kind of have a month that was a lot closer to business as usual, ramping all the way up. And Riot, I think, still has a long way to go before they're at full production business as usual, because, they had, I think, 9.3 exahash, and while they mined 740 coins, which was their all-time record, and it was the most out of everybody, Core Scientific notwithstanding, it really should have been more if they were at 100% capacity. And I do have the question for Riot that I wish they would include in every monthly operational update. Did they kick money back to the grid and get paid, in energy credits? Because that would make a difference. If they mined 740 Bitcoin and they got $2 million in energy credits, that's a different equation. So I would like to know both of those pieces to the puzzle. I think they should tell us those on a monthly basis, since it can have such a big effect on the amount of Bitcoin that they mine. Righteous Lion Hut's going to more than double overnight, and shareholders are getting nothing in return except dilution. So Righteous Lion is absolutely not a fan of the Hut deal. If Mara sold all their Bitcoin and assets, they still can't cover the debt. CleanSpark greater than Mara. That's Biz 101. So that's a complicated thing, and that's why I say these are all different equations. My counterpoint, and even though I do have I have a position in CleanSpark and not Marathon, but if I were to play devil's advocate, I would say that Marathon's debt is spectacular. They have, I think, $730 million in convertible debt, convertible in the high 70s, right? They're trading at $5 right now. Their debt's convertible in the high 70s, and they pay 1% interest, and it's not due for another 3 years. So financially, they've set themselves up in a way that's fantastic. There's pros and cons to, I'm not going to say every single one of these companies. There are a bunch of companies. If you look at my list in order, you get some indication. These companies down here, I have a lot more concern about. And they may thrive one day, I don't know. But these companies near the top, they all have different business models, but every single one of them, I think, has a chance to be successful in a little bit of a different way. So, I've seen a lot of top 4 lists, and I can't, it's hard to say, oh, you're right and you're wrong. I guess only time will tell. Cypher's coming on strong, said Gary. Yeah, I mean, Cypher, I love Cypher. My problem with Cypher is I felt like I missed my window. If we go to Cypher, and I might kick myself 3 months from now and say, oh, you didn't miss your window back then, but now you did, because they have pulled back a bunch. But this run up, Cypher's run up from, this is December 29th. So I'm not even going to go way up there. They're up 321%, and that's after having pulled back. I mean, if you got in and out of this the right way, if you did a swing trade on this, that's 660% in a month and 3 or 4 days. So this is one, not even up here, but around here is one I felt like, I feel like I missed my window. And then it did this, and I'm like, yep, I definitely missed my window. But maybe not. It has pulled back to here, and if they really can mine Bitcoin at anywhere near the price that they're talking about, then they should be a profitable company. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Biz101 is saying, let's face it, if Bitcoin hits 100K, we're all going to be rich. So, yeah, there's probably not too many wrong choices on this list if Bitcoin runs up to 100K in the next 12 to 18 months. So, and Tim saying we need Bitcoin above 25K ASAP. I agree. I do still think. So we definitely, I'm going to say the rally. So I'll just talk about this for a minute because we really didn't even talk about it. So I had 2 price targets for this rally. The first one was this purple line. It's the 2 purple lines at 22,400. We did get through that. My ultimate price target was this 25,200, and we did not get to that. And at this point, it's been 3 weeks. So I think, you know, this was a local top, and that doesn't mean we're going to go retest our lows, but this was an awesome rally, but it did not get to 25,000. But I am hoping, and we're right at my next line, so, you know, we'll see. This blue line of support here, this if Bitcoin could bounce off of this line, that would actually be technically extremely healthy. So if that's, you know, the pullback, we went sideways for a bit. We have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of the last 9 daily candles are red. That's a lot of time to reset. And you'll see on the 1-day RSI, I mean, we went from almost 90 to 45. So that's cut in half. So this gives Bitcoin a lot of room to run, but it's at one of those spots where, you know, is it going to turn around and take another run, or do we got to go reset the daily RSI all the way to the bottom? And I always like to say no one indicator, you know what I mean? You can't judge things on one indicator. There's a lot of different. Having said that, let's look at the 4-hour, because if you look at the 4-hour, you'll see, I mean, we, again, actually, you got to go back to here. So on Friday the 13th, we were at 92.5 on the 4-hour RSI. So in the 4 weeks now, in the 4 weeks that have followed, we've gone from 92, we bottomed out at 24. So that is a 100% full reset on the 4-hour RSI. And then if you look at the MACD, I mean, too soon to tell, but it looks like maybe we're moving back towards a potential, you know, we're not close to it yet. We had a bearish crossover on the 8th. That was yesterday. So, but these crossovers happen very rapidly on the 4-hour RSI. But this does look like, you know, this could go either way this weekend. It looks like we're potentially set up if somehow, by some chance, this blue line holds. We could take another run up. If not, then we probably got to go retest 20,000. I mean, you can see there's a big empty field right here. Let me go to the 1-day. Get rid of this thing. Right, this is, if I go all the way back to November of 2022, we only had these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days trading inside of this range. So this is a gap. So I hope we don't have to go fill this whole gap all the way back down to 20,000. That may be what happens. If it does, maybe for once it'll actually be a situation where it goes down on the weekend and we, get a run up during the week. That would be nice. Or maybe we hold here at, 21.4-ish. That would be ideal. That's what I'm hoping for. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. I think there's some indicators that say that we did get finally to fear in the, I'll just talk about that and then I got to wrap up. We did finally get to fear, or I'm sorry, greed. So last week on the fear and greed index, we got to 60. That was almost a full year in between the times that we got to greed. I think it was like March of 2022 was the last time the fear and greed index hit greed. We went down to fear for almost the rest of the entire year. And what I call extreme fear for a lot of the year, we were between, 6 and 15, which is, historically low rates on the fear and greed index. So that, to me, that's extreme fear. We just barely popped up and touched greed. We've reset this a little bit. So I think we're right on the brink. Things could go either way. I'm going to remain optimistic. Alex is saying, Tom, we are on a downward trend on the daily. The expectation is it will continue to trend down till the pivot at 19,500. So, I mean, that's entirely possible. So, I guess be prepared. If we're lucky, maybe it does that over the weekend. And we get to where we're going and we can turn around and start the next leg of this rally, hopefully. But we'll see. I mean, there's not making any bold statements. We've had a lot of, I think we've bottomed out, in my opinion, for sure. I really think the real bottom was back in June. I think we had some artificial pricing. We got down to the 15.5 thing in the FTX situation, and that was technically lower than the June lows. But either way, whether it was in June or whether it was in November, I strongly believe that we have bottomed. But I don't think it's going to be a race to the top. I think this is going to be a high volatility year, and we're going to have to watch it day by day, in my opinion. So those are my parting thoughts. Thank you, everybody, for joining on the live stream, and a lot of great questions and points and counterpoints. Thanks again to all the members for supporting the channel. And everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl if you're going to watch it. If not, enjoy the weekend either way. I will definitely be putting some videos out this weekend also, so you can look for those. So, all right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.